show. Watch me hit him with this 1-2 knockout KO. This time it's all or nothing, and I ain't playing around. They tried to overlook me cause I wasn't in the in crowd. Well, I'm back at it, so you know it's going down. And I'm all up in their face, so they gotta see me now with that raw lunch.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It is
Hello.
5-Star Friday, and you're stuck with just me and Uncle Fish today because, first and foremost, shouts to Ryan. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, bro.
He's out celebrating getting older and stuff. So
it's a victory, man. I'm here to tell you. I didn't expect to make it to 25, so every one of these gray hairs is a crown of glory, brings me joy to be here, all achy and wrinkly and tired. Makes me happy, man.
And shout out to Fee, who had another event tonight, and that's okay.
Always hustling.
OG crew tonight, back when we first started, me and Fish just doing our thing. So, without further ado, I am Tony Clapp, aka Mr. 5-Star, the Clapback Kid, the Chatham Up champion. Woo! And I'm joined with everybody's crazy Uncle Fish. Fish, how you doing, man?
Man, I am doing really good. It has been a crazy, busy week. I have been knocking out pages. I've been having big meetings. I've been working on client stuff. I've been working on getting the Backer Kit campaign ready for my new book, Alice Lost in Wonderland, launching on July 18th. 18th. Well, there's so many numbers running through my head, man. It is. I'm excited, man. There's a lot of cool stuff going, a lot of cool stuff happening.
Awesome. You know what else is happening, Fish?
What's that?
Tonight. We have a very special guest.
We do.
And sometimes when we have special guests or we're doing certain things, we like to switch up. You know, usually I'm Han Solo and that's Chewbacca, but today we're gonna switch it up a little bit. He's gonna be Han Solo. He's gonna be running this thing. See, that's when you see that switch. That's when we switch driver's seat. So now I'm rocking.
Oh yeah,
we got a very special guest today, and I'm excited. Fish, tell the people what we got going on.
I am really excited about the guest that we've got coming on tonight. It's Amanda Deibert. She is an author. She has been working on so much cool stuff. She's been working on the Darkwing Duck book that's on Kickstarter right now. What? I've been watching it over here, watching the numbers move. We'll welcome her on the show. Good evening. Welcome to 5-Star Fridays. Glad to have you here. Amanda, tell them all the cool stuff that you've worked on.
Oh my gosh. I've worked on a lot of stuff. I've done stuff for DC. I've done stuff for Marvel. I've done stuff for Dark Horse and Lucasfilm and Scholastic and Dynamite and Storm King. And I work for everybody. I get around.
Okay.
You've also
worked, yeah, right.
You've worked on one of my favorite projects. A lot of people my age might complain about that show. Say, "It ain't my He-Man." Of course it's not. It's absolutely new. I freaking loved this show so much. I literally screamed like a little girl when I saw that on your bio page that you had written for that. My wife was like, "What happened?" I was like, "She works like..." I was excited.
Well, thank you. I loved working on that show. Honestly, it was really fun to write.
Not a Fish fanboy.
Oh man, I'm here.
I love to see Fish fanboy.
He-Man's one of my things. It's like one of those things that goes all the way back to like spurred my creativity. That's why I do stuff like this for a living. You know, because like I remember like being in the sandbox, making up stories with my characters, and I particularly like He-Man because you could pop the arms and legs and heads and stuff off and replace it, and I could make new characters and make new stories. And oh, I absolutely loved it. And that's what still has me, you know, writing and illustrating and stuff today. It's flipping amazing.
So you're currently Darkwing Duck currently on Kickstarter. Um, okay, you pulled up the page. I'm like, I'm losing. I lost it. We lost our camera, and we like, we're good. We're good. Everything's cool. Okay, you're switching screens on me. All right. So most people, my age, Fish, you were. It was probably a little. You were probably a little older, but you probably remember Darkwing Duck. I mean, I don't know if he was a
They
kid.
had supposedly been too old for the demographic to be watching it at the time. I
Yeah.
love Darkwing Duck.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
it was one of the few things that came out right around then that I dearly loved. And
Okay.
I'm a huge superhero fan, so like the way they poked fun at it, and I just loved it. It
Okay.
was so cool.
So Amanda, why don't you really quick just tell us a little bit about this project, because even though you guys are crushing this Kickstarter and this Kickstarter is doing really well, we definitely want to see those numbers go up while we're on the show. So
Yeah, sure. So the cool thing about this is it's an omnibus, so it's a collection of several different Darkwing or Darkwing universe stories all put together, or runs all put together in one big omnibus. So there's the run that I did of Darkwing Duck, which was like a more recent one. There's some older ones. There's Jeff Parker's doing an amazing Negaduck situation. There's some Justice Ducks. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff in here. So it's it's a really sweet collection for people
yeah,
that are Darkwing fans.
I was looking at the Kickstarter, and it looks like just it's gonna hit you right in the nostalgia. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's got, and I was listening to Tad on Michael Watson's Chat and Jaw podcast, and it seems really interesting. But one of the questions I had for you was, when you got this job or was a part of this Darkwing Duck, are you a fan of Dark? Was you a fan of Darkwing Duck?
Yeah.
So was that,
Yeah, so I was a kid when it came out. I grew up with it. I grew up watching it, and then got to revisit it with my daughter, who's about the age that I was when it came out. So it's been like a
nice.
really fun, getting to like relive that, but with her. As I've said several times, she has this really skewed idea of what a job is, because I'm like, hey, do you want to watch all these cartoons with mommy? Because before I start
Yeah.
writing, so I can do research. So that was really fun growing up with it, sharing it with her. So it was kind of a no-brainer when they were like, do you want to write this? I was like, yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, being able to write something that you were a fan of as a child.
Oh man.
I mean, that's the dream as a writer, right? I mean, getting to be a
Getting
part
to
of
work
something
on the kind of projects that inspired you, like that's awesome. And you've got a really prolific history of working on a
Yeah.
lot of different comics and graphic novels. Like, you're in the Scholastic zone, aren't you? Like, doing the Scholastic graphic novels and stuff.
Yeah, I did a He-Man graphic novel for Scholastic, and I also have done a couple Rocket and Groot graphic novels for
Nice.
Scholastic, one that's out already and one that's coming out in like the fall book fairs. So yeah.
That is awesome. Those always do good, man. That was brilliant marketing right there, moving graphic novels over to that. Man, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. That was a brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant. So tell us about how you got your start as a writer, because that's something that I know a lot of other creators would be really interested in hearing. And like, what kind of jobs did you start out on? What kind of jobs did you do paying your dues? Like, how did you move over to doing the cooler stuff?
So I started out when I first started working, I was an actor, but I always wrote. I was a drama major with a screenwriting minor. Like, writing was always a big part of things. I moved to LA. I was acting, but I was still writing. And then there came a point where I decided to take a writer's assistant job on a show on Hulu, because at the time, Hulu was going to try this totally new thing that no one had ever done before, which was making original content as a streamer, as opposed to just like re-airing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I started as a writer's assistant on that, and then became a writer on like literally their first like original thing. And then I started writing more and more. So I was a screenwriter, and then I started dating this comic book illustrator named Kat Staggs, who is now my wife. And we started doing some web comics together. So I would write really embarrassing stories. I'm sorry about the plane overhead. I would write really embarrassing stories about my life, like true stories of things that had happened, and then she would illustrate them in these little web comics. And I started, I submitted to some anthologies and little things like that. And then I was also doing these comedy videos online on YouTube, and I was orphaned when I was young, and I made a video about being orphaned when I was young. But the joke was that I was slowly turning into Batman throughout the course of the video without ever commenting on it. And so apparently it went around the offices of DC, and they thought it was very funny. And then this editor reached out to me, and she was like, hey, I've seen a lot of your work, your web comics and your anthology stuff, and this video is really funny. Would you like to try writing a Wonder Woman comic?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, sure, let's start with the most iconic female superhero.
Yeah, we've just noticed how awesome you are. Here's a job working on, this iconic character. Yeah.
What could go wrong, right? No pressure. I definitely wasn't stressed about it. I wasn't sweating bullets. I wasn't like, I'm going to ruin everything.
It happens to everybody at some point.
Yeah, this is just like a very normal story that happens to everybody, and I was very chill about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with no stress. And so, but the good news is that I didn't blow it, and they kept hiring me.
Awesome.
So, and that's how I got into writing comics. I mean, I'd grown up reading comics and being a fan of comics, but that was my way in was kind of strange.
Well, marrying a comic artist probably didn't hurt, I would imagine.
Right.
Because, that's just going to be so inspiring in that area. Like, I didn't marry a writer or anything. I married an optician. But a whole lot more of my characters have glasses now. And I pay more attention to what style of glasses they are wearing and do they fit the shape of their face, because I'm hearing about it from my wife. So it does have an impact.
Absolutely.
Sure.
We do have a comment here, a question in the comments is how was working on Al Gore's podcast? That was from our guy Kyron 40D.
Yeah, so I spent 4 years writing for former Vice President Gore for his, it's live stream, and it was also on television in a bunch of different countries. It was 24 hours of reality, and so it was basically he would be live for 24 hours. It was broadcast around the world, and we would have climate scientists and political leaders and musical guests and actors and entertainers and cirque and like all kinds of things do all of this stuff to raise awareness about the climate crisis. And my job was to write the script for the entire 24-hour broadcast. It's like a 500 pager, really thick. Mr. Gore once teased me and said it was War and Peace and Climate, because it's like, I mean, just so intense.
And that's not fluff. Like, you can't just like fake your way through that.
Right.
I mean, luckily I had the scientists to rely on for like the scientific fact checking and stuff, so I wasn't having to also run my own, research team. But
man,
it was really intense and cool. And also because it was live. So I come from a background in live TV, like late night and comedy and stuff. But like when you're live, you sit in the control room as a writer so that if anything needs to change on the fly, you can quickly say it to the teleprompter, or like jump to here, we're cutting this, or add, change this line now because this person just, I don't know, puked off stage and now is not the next act coming out or whatever. And so during the broadcast, I would stay live in the control room for the entire broadcast. We did this once a year, and I did it for 4 years. So we were live the whole time. The teams, the crews would switch out every 12 hours, but I stayed for the whole thing. Mr. Gore also did a presentation every hour for 24 hours. So he also stayed awake. But it was pretty intense. The first year we were in Paris for the Paris Agreement to get signed. And it was 2015. And it was November of 2015. And while we were live, was when the terrorist attacks happened in Paris, when ISIS attacked the Bataclan and several other spots. So then we had to like shelter in place while we were live and wait for information and then end the broadcast. And that was like a very scary and intense and very sad time. And part of our crew was French, so they were worried about loved ones. And it was like really heavy. And that was the first year that I worked on it. So then every year after that, the stress level was nothing, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm just staying awake in a
it's just 24 hours,
like, whatever.
500 pages of dense scientific dialogue. Yeah, it's nothing.
Right. So like that's now my bar for when people talk about like stressful work situations or they say that a job might be stressful. I'm like, this is going to be fine. Like it's not going to be probably more stressful than that.
Oh yeah, I have done such lousy jobs over the years, and I spent like 15 years in a wheelchair, unable to walk, talk, and see a lot of that time. So the fact that I can work it all now is amazing. And the fact, so like my kids are like, but you're working like 12, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm like, nobody knows how long they got. I'm packing as much stuff in as I possibly can. I got time to make up for, and I'm a little afraid I might have given them a skewed view of what work ethic is, like you were saying, like, because now I see my kids working themselves the way I work myself, but I'm sitting at a desk drawing comics all day, going out and installing garage doors for 12, 16 hours. That's a whole different thing.
Right. So, for you as a writer, that has worked on multiple projects, like you said, you've been. Is there one that sticks out to you the most? Is there one that, or a few that you would say like are your favorite, or you would say like, man, this is some of my best work? Some of
the stuff that really makes you proud.
Yeah, like something that like really makes you proud. Like, wow, like this was good.
That's such a good and difficult question because I do truly like fall in love with each project as I'm working with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like whatever I'm working with at the time is my passion, which then makes it hard to pick a favorite. I mean, there are things that stand out. Obviously, that first Wonder Woman, to me, I did it with my wife. She was the illustrator on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It came out while I was pregnant with our daughter. Like and it was my first like big professional comic. So that one will probably always be, that's like the sentimental one for me. Right.
Right.
But it, I love so many of them for different reasons. It's always like bringing up something new, learning something new about my craft or doing something new that's fun in some way that's different. It's like if I'm doing a horror comic, it's like, oh, that's really messed up and scary. If I'm doing like Rocket and Groot, it's like, oh, this is going to be fun and funny for kids. And I'm getting a kick out of writing like the silly stuff. So it's, doing Star Wars was fun because that was, that was another like high bar, nostalgic.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got to name like this little Wookiee kind of for my daughter, and she became really important to the arc. And so that kind of stuff, like that's another one that I would say is pretty high up there in the ooh, I got to do this thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you've got to knock off some pretty awesome things.
Yeah, I mean,
and work on some amazing projects.
I mean, you're like, what? DC? Yeah, Marvel, okay. Star Wars, yes. He-Man, okay. Like you've got to do. You almost got. I mean, you got the Infinity Gauntlet. Really, I mean, you're collecting the stones.
Kyron has a good question here. He was asking, the Disney Afternoon Block had a lot of cartoons that have become memorable series. If you had the chance to work on another Disney series, what would it be?
There's so many good ones. I think Tailspin would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like all the what, like the Disney block had so much that I'm like, what all is there
Yeah,
even?
there's a
Like
lot.
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, like I liked Rescue Rangers a lot as a kid. I liked
Oh my god, I loved Rescue Rangers so much.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many good ones. I'm like all of them, any of them.
Tailspin is underrated, Kyron.
I agree,
You're
Kyron. I agree.
that was a good one. And Sky Pirates, that has stuck in my brain the rest of my life. Like they are appearing in my next book. There's Pirates in the Sky because that inspired me as a kid.
For sure, for
And
sure.
oh, I loved it. Gargoyles was an amazing series.
Oh yeah, Gargoyles
Done
is
so well.
Yeah.
Yes, Gargoyles was incredible.
DuckTales was good, but like I think Darkwing did some things better than DuckTales. Like out of all the characters that were on Darkwing, Gizmo Duck is my favorite because like I think he was done so much better in Darkwing and really got a chance to shine, and he wasn't just like the bumbling idiot. Like he was such good competition for Darkwing, and and make him uncomfortable, and you're like, why do you need those gadgets? And those gadgets make you cooler than me. And I loved it. He really got a chance to shine there.
I kind of want to piggyback off of Kyron's question a little bit. With projects that you would like to do, you mentioned having a daughter. Is there something that you feel like that your daughter grew up with, maybe, or something that like is big, like in her world, that you would love to like maybe potentially write or be a part of? And like, I don't know, is that something? Is there something that you would like on your list? Or like, man, this would be cool if I could write this because of this. Something that my daughter loves.
Yes, I have a fun story about it, but I can't say what it is because it hasn't been announced yet. So I'm going to tell the fun story without ever telling you what it is. How obnoxious is that? Which is that there is a cartoon series that my daughter is obsessed with. Like it is her favorite. It is her, her lunchbox and the little things on her shoes and the what, you know what I mean? Like it's her thing.
Yeah.
And one day she was like talking to my wife and I, and she was like, I've watched all the episodes. I've read all the comics. Like, I need there to be more. Can you and Mama just make, some more comic books of this thing because I want it more to exist. And it was a thing that didn't have a current run right now. And I was like, well, honey, that's not really how it works because we don't own the characters. So we would have to, get hired by the company to make it whatever. Right. But yes, that would be nice. And then we got home and my wife saw that there was another comic coming out with this cartoon. And so we were like, oh, great. There's going to be more stuff. Like, look. And so we're showing her that another comic is coming. And she was like, awesome. And then I saw that the editor was the editor that I worked with on Darkwing Duck. And I was like, oh, hey, I just like tweeted at him and I was just like, this thing loving daughter is going to really be excited about reading this. And that's going to be awesome. And that was it. It was just like a yay. Now she has more content. And like 5 seconds later, he emails and he was like, hey, these are all actually one-offs with different creative teams. Do you and Kat want to do one of them together?
Oh, nice.
Excited.
I gotta start tweeting at more folks. That's what I gotta do.
I like turned to my kid and I was like, okay, so do you want us to do the Halloween one, the Christmas one, or the summer one?
Yeah. That is
awesome. Like Halloween. So now she's like, and what's cute is so I've written the script for it. She's read my script. She found typos. She's like so into it.
Oh,
then
cool.
She was watching Kat draw and she like caught a page and she was like, no, in the script it said it should have this thing. Don't forget that. And then my wife was like, oh my God, you're right. So she's editing basically.
Nice. That's cool.
Oh, train them up right in the way that they should go. I'm telling you.
That's awesome. That's cool. See, that's like another, to me, I feel like making as a writer and being able to live your dream is cool, but like that's like another piece of it. Like if you can also write stuff that you loved and enjoyed, that's like huge. but then like doing something that's like your kids loved and enjoyed, and then like you're a part of that. Like that's like a full circle moment. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, it was amazing. Although I have to like somehow make her understand that this is not usually how it works, that you just ask us to do something and like 5 minutes later.
You just pick the thing you want to work on and you get to do that. Yeah.
Sure. It just happened that way. And I'm like, oh, kid, you have such a skewed idea.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm telling you, man, my kids are fully grown, but like if the chance to work on Ben 10 came up, I would snag that in a second because they just absolutely love that.
Ben 10 is great.
Sure. That'd be a fun one. That'd be a fun one to write for sure.
Oh man. Oh, I was so jealous when that show came out. I was like, this is like they pulled it right out of my brain. It was so beautiful. I absolutely loved it. So, what is something that you still want to accomplish? Like, what are some goals in writing that, like, some milestones you still want to hit? Your next Mount Everest you want to climb after this?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd love to do some more creator-owned stuff. It's the blessing is that I am constantly working on stuff, and I am fortunate and lucky because it keeps a roof over our head and food on the table. Yeah. And the hard thing is I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to the for me stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think if I was real about, the big goals, it would be to figure out a way to make some time to explore some stuff that I wouldn't necessarily get paid for up front, and just to make because it's the stuff that's been sitting in my brain and me going like, oh, I'll get to it someday.
Yeah. Someday keeps slipping away. I'm here to tell you. It slips away faster and faster. I've recently just moved from doing other people's books to doing more of my own stuff. And I'm feeling that pinch because my stuff doesn't pay quite as well as doing somebody else's book. Right. I'm responsible for selling and packaging and shipping and doing all of the things now. And, I might be really good at writing and illustrating, but marketing, that's, I'm not a marketer for a reason.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's definitely a skill. It's a separate skill that some people can do really well and other people, can struggle with. But, so, with writing in TV and writing in comic books, is there one that you kind of prefer, that you enjoy more? Between the two, do you kind of hold them still at the same level, or is there one that you kind of like doing more than the other?
They're kind of fun in different ways. I mean, they're very similar in a lot of ways because it's both very very image visual forward mediums. Right. But there's more freedom for sure in comic books. You don't have necessarily the budgetary constraints to worry about that you do in TV and film. But obviously, TV and film, the pay is better, which is nice. Right. And kind of magical about it. I don't know, especially in animation, there's so many steps to the process that all feel like magic to me. Watching the voice actors in the booth, recording their stuff, and then seeing the animatics, and then seeing how it all comes together with the final animation. That's a pretty, I don't know if that process ever won't feel magical to me, and then realizing that that I wrote it down and suddenly it's all of that. But I also feel that way when I look at comic book art, right? When I see what the artist has done and how beautifully it comes out on the page, and the extra humor and emotion and just cool things that the artists add visually that are much better than whatever I imagined in my own head. I love the fact that both are collaborative because I love seeing the magic of what everyone else who is creating this with me brings to the table.
Yeah. Have you ever had? You don't have to answer. You don't have to give an example of this. I don't want you to put anybody out there. But have you ever had an example of the other end of that, where you felt like you wrote something, or you wrote something a certain way and it wasn't quite captured the way that you envisioned it? And it could be, I guess, could be for the better or for the worse. I'm guessing I'm going more for towards the worst, but you can also talk about it. Because me and Fish, we were a writer artist combo one time, and I think we like to talk about how important it is to have that relationship with the people that are drawing. Your
And
book,
if our
and how it goes a
imaginations are
long
running
way.
the same direction, then we can make it so much better together, collaborating together
Right.
than either of us would have done alone. But I've also worked with some folks that like hire me for commissions that our imaginations do not go the same direction.
Yeah.
And I don't get what they think is cool. And, but they keep hiring me to do work. And so I'm trying to give them what they want, but it's like pulling teeth when our imaginations don't go in the same direction and fuel off each other.
Right.
I've mostly been fortunate enough that I've mostly had it go like far in a good direction where I get surprised and delighted by how much better it is than I thought. I think maybe there was like one time where there was an artist. I won't get into like details because I'm not gonna like put anybody on blast, but there was a situation where an artist drew something that I felt like kind of made a caricature out of a certain type of people or like demographic, and I was like not comfortable with it. And so I had to push back on that, and I was like, this is not how I wrote it. This is not what I would intend for this. Like, I'm not okay with this.
Right.
And that's the only time I can think of where I had to really push back and be like, this art is not gonna work. And it only happened once. Otherwise, it's like if something's a little bit, unless something's missing that's a key element to the story, like, hey, she has to be in a red shirt because all the dialogue's about a red shirt. Like, if something's drawn not the way I'm thinking, I'm like, the artist, in my opinion, like that's they're also co-creators on the book. So the visual storytelling, as long as the story, as it's not harming the like story, refer to them on that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then some people just don't have experience drawing like other cultures and stuff, and so like getting pushed out of their comfort zone can lead to some results I've seen. Yeah. I totally understand that. I totally understand that situation. Oh gosh, so many results I've seen.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Fish. Did you have a question?
Oh no, I was just thinking. What is your writing process like? Are you like, do you have like a set office that you go to? Do you work out of the house, writing from the couch? Do you get up at a certain time? Do you do it like when the mood hits you? Like, what's your work process like?
So I work from home, and so does my wife. I generally work at the dining room table. Kat has a little studio in the back of our house. And we both get up pretty early. Right now I'm writing for a video game, and a lot of the team is in China. So I'm getting up really early so that we can have some overlap communication time. So I wake up at like 4 a.m. and have my coffee. And I'm writing for that video game by like 4:30 or 5. Then I stop at around 7 when my daughter gets up, get her settled, whatever. And then it's me just trying to, if she has school or camp or something like that, then I write during that time. If not, then I write. Basically, my schedule fits around my child's schedule. It's really
That's nice though. That's a nice thing about being able to do that.
It's the dream, right? It's I get to be able to do that so that I can be very present for her. I'm also like the PTA president at her school and her Girl Scout troop leader. Because I have the kind of schedule that I can just bang it out when I need to. I can't wait for inspiration. I can't wait until I'm really feeling, in the mood.
Right.
You can't go wandering through the woods waiting for inspiration to strike. Like you got deadlines, you got to do it.
Summer vacation to a nice hotel.
I think my background in like late night and live TV actually really helped me with that, though, because with that you have to write a script every day and then it's going live. You have to have something by the end of the day, even if it's not your best thing. But you know what? If it's not your best thing, well, that's fine. You got to write another thing tomorrow. And so I got really trained in that, like, you don't have time for writer's block.
And learning to
that.
trust yourself too, and be like, I can do this. Not get all up in your head about, but the magic, the muse. Not just you got to do it sometimes. And
I mean, it's great when you have the magic and the muse. Like, that's preferable. Sometimes it's a grind, and it's just like, I'm gonna grind through until I make this work.
Right.
Personal question to leap off of that. Do you struggle at all with like stopping what you're doing, stopping your creative process, go, pick up your daughter from school or whatever, and then jump back into the creative process? Is that transition kills me every time?
Sometimes, most of the time, it doesn't bother me because I've gotten kind of used to it. Occasionally, there'll be a moment where she's like, she or my wife will need something, and I'm like, wait, guys, I need, like, I'm in the middle of a sentence, and if I don't finish it, I'm going to lose it. Like, I have this whole, like, XYZ all need to connect, and I've just figured out how to make it connect, so give me a minute. So in those moments, I'll usually just ask them, like, I just need a second. But usually I'm okay.
I'm personally, I'm really bad with my ADD. I will get so hyper focused on what I'm doing that, like, sometimes my wife will stop me and she'll be like, so what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, I know dinner means food. That's all I can think of is food. What's the red strings with the stuff on top? She's like, spaghetti. I'm like, yeah, let's do that one. I know that's food. Like, I'm so focused in on what I'm doing, trying to break away is hard. And then when I will go off to go, like go to the doctor, take the kids to whatever, trying to get back into that mode again is really tough for me. I'm glad you have an easier time with that than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would, writing 24-hour scripts and stuff like that probably helps to that too. I mean, you've done, like you said, you've got to work on a variety of projects and different things, so it's like you're just like sharpening that skill set. For you, working with your wife on projects, did you guys ever have like creatively like bumped heads at all, or like is there ever been?
I joke, but it's true that the thing about us that works best is actually us as creative partners, because of like all the things that we might bicker about or fight about in like marriage or raising kids or finances or what do you want for dinner or whatever. That never comes into the work stuff. Like, we have such a good shorthand with that. When she reads my scripts, she knows what I want. I know she's going to draw it in a much more beautiful way than I can even think of. We're also both very open to each other's feedback. I'll read my scripts to her and say, like, does this sound okay? What can I change? She'll bring me over and be like, hey, is this what you were thinking? What if I do this? I was thinking about this. And so, like, we have a very easy working relationship. We've also been together a long time, and we work together, and we also work on other things, and we give each other feedback on the stuff that we're not doing with each other too.
Yeah, that's nice. That's definitely a good thing. That you're able to do that.
It's a good thing to be able to work together when you both work from home.
Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, a lot of couples that I know might not be able to do that.
Oh man, I know couples that only survived 25, 30 years because dad was on the road the whole time and like was only home on weekends and like,
right. Is there so with you being a writer, her being an artist, is there a passion project that you both would like to put out together? Is there something maybe like your own stuff? Like, have you guys ever thought about like we could do our own thing? Is it like a passion project that you guys had that you haven't got to do yet together, or?
Yeah, there's a couple things that we've talked about over the years that we just haven't had the time to, because then we're like, then basically both of us would be having no income. That would be probably a bad idea. And but we did do with Storm King Comics, we did a horror book that that Sandy King Carpenter and I worked together on coming up with the idea, but then I wrote it and Kat drew it, and like that one like was very much something that we made. You know, that one was really like a baby of ours. That was like our own original characters, our own original concept kind of thing. And that was really cool. And that was called Death Mask. And then we're working on the second volume right now. I've finished the script and she's drawing it. So, and that's really, you know, really dark, really adult, not something our daughter's going to be able to read for a long time.
Right.
Which is another question, like what kind of genres do you really like enjoy doing? Like what's the kind of stuff that really lights your fire?
You know, I actually love going back and forth because the kids stuff is so much fun. I do a lot of it. There's nothing better than like seeing a kid excited about reading my comics. Like when one of my daughter's friends is like so excited to like come running up and show me like he's holding the little book or something, like I just want to burst into tears. It's the greatest feeling. Like seeing kids buy it at the Scholastic Book Fair was like, you know, my inner child exploded. So I don't think that can be beat. But I also really love, on the flip side, doing things that are, you know, I love writing the horror comics. Like I love doing the really dark, really gritty, really twisted, show my very fucked up dark side. So I think doing both is my sweet spot, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go over here and do some Teen Titans Go, and then I'm going to go over here and, you know, have a gruesome serial killer or something.
I guess so. You explaining your stuff with Wonder Woman, which is crazy, as like your first like thing. So I guess you kind of hit the gate running with this, but when you get a job and it's for an iconic character, right? Like, what is your approach with like, how am I going to make my mark with this character, or what am I going to do differently with this character, or what am I going to like? What's your approach with that? Because that's a scary thing. Like the fandoms are so crazy.
Oh man,
right, like
I would be scared to touch Wonder Woman myself. Like,
dude, Star Wars right now currently, I'm good. Like,
I know, and I've still got Star Wars comics coming out right now. I feel you.
like it's like Star Wars stuff is scary. Like those people are crazy right now. So like, what's your approach going into that? Like, what do you do to get yourself ready for that, or prepare to say, you know, I'm gonna do this with this character?
At this point, because you're right, I've done a lot of like huge IP that people have a big nostalgic attachment to. Like for whatever reason, I've touched all our childhood nostalgia points, basically. And so what I have to do is, you know, first go, oh my God, how am I gonna ruin this and everyone's gonna hate me, and you know, I have to take my moment of that. And then I have to put all of that aside. And for me, the big thing is to like be respectful of the character as it exists and what everyone loves about it, right? So it's not about me trying to change it and suddenly Wonder Woman's gonna like lies instead of truth, or like I'm gonna be so, you know, avant-garde. It's about like, these are the things that I love about this character. These are the things that everybody loves about this character. This is who this character is at their core. Staying true to that. Doing the best job that I can do with it. And then like writing the story that I want to see with that character. And then obviously if it's something like Wonder Woman that has an almost 100-year history, then I have to go, okay, wait, I have this idea. Has that already been done? You know, okay, no, great. and then other than that, it's just now I'm going to do the best job that I can. You know, I can't be worried about, because somebody's going to hate it and somebody's going to love it, and I can't control that. And if I try to write something in a way that I think people aren't going to be mad at me, then I'm going to make absolute crap. Because it's not going to have any heart. It's just going to be like weird fan service things with no story. So I have to kind of put that aside and just be like, okay, this is what I think the heart of this character is. Now I'm going to tell the best story I can with that, and then hope people like it.
That was just some knowledge you just dropped there. So if you are an aspiring writer, make sure you know, remember that she just dropped you some knowledge right there. That was nice. With all the characters that you've done, is there a character that you feel like you really related to the most? Like one that you're like, man, this was so easy to write. And on the flip side of that, is there one that was like the hardest, like the hardest character for you to write?
That's a great question. I'm like, who do I relate to the most? I mean, I do relate to Batman, except the billionaire part.
I just had money for the gadgets. It's the only thing holding me back.
You know, I don't know if there's like one character in particular. I know that I am drawn to, in general, I like people who are a little bit of crusaders, or maybe have a little bit of like a revenge streak or a vendetta. Like I tend to find myself kind of drawn into those like people that are very motivated by like something that messed up that happened, and then, you know, whoever did that kind of gets it in the end. I love a good revenge story. So those are probably the ones that excite me the most. Even, and like some of my horror is really messed up revenge stories. But I get a lot of maybe catharsis out of it. Like maybe this is just me doing what I wish I could do in real life.
Oh, I'm gonna get back at that mom in the PTA that keeps bringing the lemon squares. Swear to God.
So on the flip side of that, is there a character that was like kind of like what you talked about your process with like having writer's block, and how like you're able to get past that? It's not really too much of an issue for you. But has there been that one character that you're like, man, this character is hard to write. This is harder than I thought it would be.
I think that's happened to me at different times with different characters. I think when it happens, it means that I haven't really like gone deep enough into who they are and their voice. So when I find that, when I can tell that I'm just writing a flat person that is just saying dialogue, but that could be literally anybody, then I'm like, I need to stop and like really like either do some more research on this character and figure out what motivates them, or maybe like take some time to really think about like what it is that makes this character, that, you know, like what is their driving force, what are they passionate about, what is their voice, because it can happen to me even with characters that I sometimes write, like if I step away from them, or like I've just noticed that when it does happen to me, it's more that I just need to go deeper into that character.
Right.
I can really relate to that, because I was thinking about the question as Tony was asking it, and the most time I've had trouble like trying to write dialogue for a character is usually when I don't know that character very well. And you know, even working on small press indie books, sometimes as the artist, I'll end up being left, because I'm usually the letterer too. I'll be filling in dialogue in places where the writer was just kind of like, this happens. Like, you know, there's a page of fighting, so I'm putting in dialogue and stuff, and I realize like I don't know this character well enough, and he really kind of sounds like this guy, and he's not this guy. He needs to have his own unique voice. So, you know, but yeah. Right, absolutely. Right. I feel you on that one. That was a good answer.
Can you pull up that Kickstarter page one more time?
Absolutely. Man, that thing just keeps climbing. Y'all need to do something about that.
People love Darkwing. I'm telling you,
I'm here to tell you.
I've never seen anything like it. Truly.
Yeah. So 4 days to go. Goal is completely blown
Y'all
away.
get out there and share so that they can reach their goal.
Yeah. Sharing is caring. Fish, do your share spiel.
Oh man, you got to share it to your page, share it to your mama's page, share it to your best friend's uncle's page. Sharing is caring. It does the most. We could get this thing over $3 million by the end of the night if y'all get out there and just, get the sharing.
Share it.
So come on now, get on out there, get sharing.
Yeah, gotta share it. Wonderful stuff you guys got going on here, and obviously you can tell that there was a want. I feel like this is one of those things that people were like they didn't know they wanted it until they were like, yeah, we want this. Like Darkwing Duck.
Word? You bringing Darkwing back? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I want Darkwing back. That sounds amazing. It has been awesome being able to talk to you and pick your brain, and we really enjoy having you on the show. Is there anything that you would like to say to like somebody who is wanting to be a writer, who is looking into getting into the field, some advice that you would give that person?
Absolutely. The big one that everybody's gonna say is to just keep writing. But I will also say you've got to put it out there. It's really hard not to get precious with it or intimidated or think that something's not ready. But the way that you'll work is for people to know about your work. So we live in a world. I mean, I got started. I'm old, and I got started putting stuff up online back when that wasn't even the way it is now. Now it is so easy to make your own content and put it online that if you are not doing that, do that immediately. Do that this week. Whether it's Webtoons or your Instagram page or whatever, a blog, whatever you got to do. There's so many outlets for that, because that's going to help people give you a chance at some point, and it will help you hone your craft, because we do write differently when we know somebody's going to read it. It's just true. Even if you've ever written an email and then you send it and then you reread it through their voice, somehow, and then you notice all the stupid things you said in the email that you didn't notice when you're writing it. I
hope they don't take this aggressively, because that kind of sounds more aggressive than I intended it to.
Exactly.
Or the way I write for myself as opposed to the way I write when the editor's going to be looking at it is very different.
Yes.
Right.
So if you can put yourself, if you can be submitting for, whatever contests, anthologies, put stuff online, the more that you can get used to writing for other people, writing for people to read, that's very, very helpful. Obviously, reading things, watching things, listening to things, I get as inspired by movies and television shows and novels that I read as I do by the comics that I read. it's everything that you're doing is going to feed into your storytelling. So make sure you're also, that it's not just you pouring out. Make sure you're also enjoying some things, and you can remind yourself why you like the medium, because it can get easy to get into a grind and forget why you love it.
For an hour, and you just gonna call me out at the end of it. Man, that ain't nice. That ain't nice.
If you ain't just talking about having your auntie or your mom read it, who's gonna say, "Oh, baby,
no.
This is good. This is so good." You got to get it out there. Sometimes the critics can be tough, but I mean, it helps you. It'll So now don't be wrong. There's just some straight, there's some mean folk out there that just want to be mean because they're miserable. But
just take the criticism you want. Look, because somebody's always going to hate it. Think about whatever your favorite thing you've ever read is, and somebody out there, you could look it up right now and find on the internet where someone is like, "This is a piece of shit."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also depends on who the criticism is coming from. Like if it's my Uncle Bob criticizing my writing, I'm like, dude, come on. You don't know what you're doing. He runs his table saw drunk. He's missing up most of his hand. Like he's not the guy I'm going to take writing advice from. Like,
Right.
but if you offer a criticism on it, it might sting, but like I'm going to pay attention because you know what you're doing. And you got to kind of weigh that too, because not everybody knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. And if you hear the same criticism from people you respect, again, this is not just from whomever, but if you hear it like 3 times from people you respect, then probably, because usually I say like, just take what you want, take what serves you. But if you're hearing it over and over from people you respect, then you probably do need to look at whatever that is.
Yeah, that's one thing that I had to learn the hard way and realize that like if I write something and you read it and you don't get the same impression off of it that I was trying to put down, it was easy in the beginning to say, well, you just read it wrong. Like I did it right and you read it wrong. But, Tony might have read it and got the same thing that I was meaning. But if you got a different reaction off of it, somebody else is going to have the exact same reaction you had. And I'm not going to be standing there to explain it or make excuses for myself. So if you had that reaction, I probably need to tweak something and make it more clear or, set it up better or whatever so that it's not confusing.
Yeah, and sometimes you do have to idiot proof things. I mean, we see it on the internet. You say something, you think you're so clear.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Is there any other projects that are coming up that you want to give a shout out to? I know like the focus was like with the 4 days left on the campaign, but you are doing so many projects and you got your hand in so much stuff. Is there anything else that you kind of want to give a shout out to or tell people to be on the lookout for? Or
Sure. Have some Batman and Scooby-Doo coming out pretty regularly right now. That's fun.
Yeah.
Our last volume of the Star Wars Hyperspace Stories just came out. And I've got the new Rocket and Groot Tales of Terror is going to be out in the fall at those book fairs. Thank you for that. So yeah, I've got a handful of stuff.
Yes.
Coming
handful of stuff. More than a handful.
Scooby-Doo, man. Oh.
And if you have a preschooler, I write for Hot Wheels Let's Race, and I think season 2 will probably drop this fall.
Nice, man.
My grandbabies will love that.
This is cool, man.
This has been a great show. This has been so much fun getting to talk with you. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us about writing and your experience and everything that you've gotten to work on. And if we've learned anything, we just need to be in the right place at the right time and have somebody hand us a job on Wonder Woman. That's what we need.
Correct.
And then we just have to kill it when we get there. That's all. It's easy.
That's it.
Just be ready when the opportunity comes. Because
be awesome and be ready. That's what we got to do. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure hanging out. You got anything else you want to say before we go, Tony?
I do not. Other than, our motto is continue to be a 5-star version of yourself. Keep killing it. Keep grinding. And we'll catch you guys. We're going to be, real quick, yes, I do.
Okay.
We are going to be putting out a schedule for our new show. We know we changed the time on you guys, but we're going to be putting out a schedule for you guys can tune in with us. And we got to figure out this Facebook thing, Fish, because we still ain't on Facebook right now. So we're going to have to share this.
Man.
And, so all of our FB friends, we're sorry. But we're going to reshare this where you can watch
it. Said it was going out, but...
Anyways, that's it. Thank you. And we will catch y'all on the next Fivestar Fridays. Run that outro, Fishy. Peace.